Dun-dun-dun-dun! Welcome! Woohoo! I'm Halcyon, this is Hug Nation, and I am thrilled to spend a few moments with you. The world tends to have all sorts of messaging that pushes you into a role of doubt, pushes into a role of a consumer who needs things to be whole. And so Hug Nation is my commitment to myself to at least once a week revisit the lessons, the awareness, the truth that I know when I am at my most balanced and most in alignment. I know these things to be true. I know that I'm where I need to be. I know everything is perfect. Once I can find the perspective to see the lessons, to appreciate the adventure, to notice and be aware of all the love. So thank you for being a part of that. Today I want to talk about my magical experience yesterday giving out hugs. Now, the Free Hugs campaign started in 2006 by a guy named Juan Mann. There was a very popular viral video by, I think, Sick Puppies or somebody had a song in it, and it went crazy and it was beautiful and it sparked a movement. And now you see people with free hug signs at many, if not all, major gathering and fair and street fair, and it's street corner often. And it's awesome. And I've seen it so many times, and over the years many people have confused me with being, a guy who's into the free hugs movement. But for 10 years it's been going on. I have never done this. I've never gone out with a sign saying free hugs. Although I clearly am very connected and invested and passionate about hugs. I do actually have to clarify that Hug Nation, this project that is the core of so much of who I am, is not really focused on the idea of a physical hug. It's on the concept of a hug. The idea that in a hug, two people's individual identities dissolve and the me becomes a we. And so Hug Nation is really about that concept and doing that on a massive scale, using the tool of the internet as a way to let the many me's sink into a we for a few moments each week to remind ourselves of our collective oneness. So I didn't initially start out as being a professional or passionate physical hugger. I love hugs, but Hug Nation was really a slightly variation to that. But over the years, as being the Hug Nation guy, I have gotten a lot of practice hugging, and I would consider myself to be world class. I think we're all world class, but I really love hugging, and I really feel like I am able to dissolve into a hugging experience and really just let myself slip away and just really be the energy of the us, let the love that is flowing through us all kind of define that moment. And man, I love it. My favorite thing to do at parties and festivals is just to walk around and hug people. So I don't know how many hugs a year I get, but it is significant, it's substantial, and it is a huge part of who I am. So if I've been able to give you a physical hug, thank you for leading residual ripples of goodness as who I am. I feel like as we hug through the world, we are constantly kind of mixing up our love DNA and spreading it and creating this growing, powerful union as we connect physically. Doesn't have to be physically. I feel like we're connecting in this moment right now. But the physical sure brings a beautiful level to it. So I went out. It was Earth Day in San Diego. So for some reason, I just knew. I wanted to go out and give out hugs. I decided to make a sign that just said hugs. I feel like people know enough now that hugs are free. So I wanted to make it a little bit more of my own expression and not a franchise of the free hugs movement. So made a sign that said hugs, made it small enough so that I didn't have to hold it with two hands, so that I could hold it with one hand. And because I've noticed in videos that with a two-handed big sign kind of cramps the ability to give a really deep, solid hug. And hey, that's what we're here for. kind of like Batman's suit, it makes it so that he can't move his neck that well. Well, that seems to be a prohibitive aspect of the very nature of what you're doing, Batman. Sorry. So, and I've been given a beautiful fuchsia pink shirt by my friend Kristen, who is a passionate and evangelistic free hugs enthusiast, that says, it's got a panda on the front and it says free hugs, and then on the back it's got 2 handprints that says place hands here. It's just very cute. So I went out with my fuchsia shirt, I had a pink sign, pink hair, pink shoes. I was maybe a little cartoonish. I thought about wearing like really crazy outfits, like shiny disco pants, and thought that, my objective is to connect with people, and I'm already a bit repelling to somebody that is uneasy with the freakish spectrum of the human family, so maybe I should tone it down a little bit. So I wore just some black track pants. I still was pretty bold and cartoonish. And so I stood in the middle of kind of the main thoroughfare of Balboa Park, where all the booths were and there's all this traffic, and immediately, can I have a hug? I want a hug. I want a hug. And there's a few things that just really struck me about the experience. Now, every time I said, thank you, thank you. I mean, I felt like everybody that hugged me was giving me a gift. But I was really kind of surprised at how much appreciation came from the people who hugged me. This appreciation for getting a hug, this appreciation for me doing this act of giving out hugs. Almost as if I was there like handing out $10 bills. Here's a $10 bill. They're like, oh, thank you. Thank you for doing this. I'm like, thank you, thank you. I kind of toned down the length of my hugs. My default, if I'm in a place where I know people or at a festival, is a little bit longer hug than maybe just a quick pat and hold. But I recognize that, with strangers, not knowing where people are at in their path and their comfort, and not knowing how comfortable they are with a pink-haired man, I didn't want to be unnecessarily creepy. So I gave fairly brief but deep connecting hugs to people. If I could sense that someone was down, I would hug longer, or sometimes people would hold on to me, and that was just awesome. Occasionally people would correct me and tell me to do a heart-to-heart hug. And I have ranted about this in the past, but let me just say a few words about the heart-to-heart hug. Fine, you like the heart-to-heart hug. That's great. I think it's beautiful. I think that if you feel that shifting your body so that your hearts feel more aligned to you, or you have a story about how they're more aligned to you, that's great. And if you want to ask me for a heart-to-heart hug, you should do so. After we hug, or do your approach in such a way that you give cues so that I know what to do. What drives me batty is when you go in for a traditional hug and someone goes, no, let's do heart to heart. They think that they're giving you a gift. They're giving you this awareness of a type of hug, this magical thing that they like, that they think that you will like as much too. And I do like heart to heart hugs. But the manner in which people stop and correct invites this level of wrongness or judgment or abrupt, oh, sorry, did I do something? What? To a hug, which is by definition all good. I've had people tell me, well, the traditional hug puts your livers in contact and it's toxic. I'm like, are you freaking crazy? Put down the crystals and listen to what you're saying. Human contact and embrace is beautiful. If you are bringing toxic connections to your hugs, you're doing it from here, not from here. So what I often suggest to people after they correct me and we've given the heart-to-heart hug and they're feeling like, yay, cool, I'm progressive in my embraces. Sorry, I like I said, kind of gets to me. I generally say, hey, if you don't mind me giving you some feedback, if you'd like a heart-to-heart hug, first take the traditional hug and then ask for a heart-to-heart hug. That way, it's all good, and you haven't added this feeling into this process. Where now, as we're doing the heart-to-heart, I'm still like recovering from you scolding me for my original traditional hug. Okay, that being said, many people wanted to correct me in my hugs, and I appreciated their desire to be the best hugger possible. What I didn't realize was what a powerful demonstration and exercise in gifting it would be. I was struck by how many people were unable to understand why I was doing it. You know, who are you here for? What are you doing this for? One guy even shoved money in my hand, said, "Thanks for doing this." Like I was doing the robot or a human statue or something like that. That they really didn't have a place in their worldview for a non-transactional interaction, for someone to put out effort and give without there being some reason. And I'm so embedded in the Burning Man culture and so dedicated to gifting in my life, and it's been so transformative to me that I forget how dramatic and how transformative a gifting mindset can be. It made me think I want to do this more. Yes, to hug, but also because it is a beautiful demonstration of gifting in the world. I mean, a hug, even though it has no financial value in our traditional system, our human interaction definitions and scripts of the traditional system don't allow for just raw kindness without any sort of angle behind it. Whew. So I'm excited at the kind of unknown possibility that for me that gifting can be so powerfully demonstrated just by holding up a sign that I was to give out hugs. A number of people would request hugs for their friends. And there are two types of ways that this happens. Sometimes people would say, "Hey, my buddy could really use a hug." And what was interesting is every time that happened, it was true. And the person who I hugged felt a little broken and was deeply appreciative. And it, again, is this other reminder of like, wow, how lucky I am that hugging is such a big part of my life as I encounter people that are clearly, in need of having these brief experiences of connection. Other people would try to, offer hugs to their friends or convince me to hug their friends as a form of punishment. Usually these were adolescent boys who are trying to get their, struggling to understand their own sexuality and gender role, force them to hug a confusingly pink man. And, I always was very clear to say that, look, I'm only interested in consensual hugs, and I wish them the best. It was a very crowded space, and so there was, brief lulls. But once I started going, and once people start hugging, then this momentum goes. It's like when there was nobody around, then the first person to hug me is taking a little bit of a risk because, what's his angle? But once people start hugging and once there's smiles and once I'm having interactions, then it was just like a flood. And many people, I also tried to ask people's names because I wanted to have it be like a connection. I even wore a name tag, said, "Hello, my name is John," partially in homage to my grandpa, who would wear a name tag every day because two reasons. One, he lived in a retirement village where people's memories were poor, and he wanted to avoid any embarrassment as people forgot names. And two, it just makes the world friendlier. If you have a name tag, you are literally telling people, I'm cool with us being more familiar than we were a second ago. I'm open to a more intimate relationship with you. I'm John. So I will be going back out into the world and giving hugs. I don't know where, I don't know when, but after being such a evangelist and a hug enthusiast for so long, I feel like a whole new world of hugging has been opened up to me. So let me know if you want to go out next time. We can make maybe an ongoing event of it. I hope I get to hug you. If you have free hugs or public hugging experiences, I would love to hear about them. Post about them in the Hug Nation page on Facebook, facebook.com/HugNation, or send me a note, or tell it on your wall and tag me, or do it. Just scream loudly as you hug someone, and I will hear. So another thing on my mind is I went this last weekend to my third event in 3 weeks. I went to Blazing Swan in Australia, then went to Lucidity in the Santa Barbara Mountains, and then this last weekend went to Idlewild for MOPS Manipulation, sponsored by Master Ong's Prop Shop, which was a gathering for flow artists, people that do poi and staff and fire dart and aerial and all sorts of circusy arts, lots of juggling. And I am not one that is a practitioner of a physical flow art. So it's a weird thing for me to go to these events. I've gone to a number of them. I've gone to Ignite for many years and have been invited by Marvin Ong, who's it's a beautiful man, to participate in a number of events that he has hosted. And I had an interesting experience at Ignite my first time I went, feeling a little awkward because I don't do poi and I don't do any of these kinetic arts. And around the fire, I heard people behind me. Someone's like, "Who's that guy?" They're like, "Oh, that's Halcyon. He does word flow." And I was like, "Yes, yes." Because one of the things I love about interacting with this community, there's many things. One is it's so supportive. Everyone's teaching each other, and everyone's dedicated to their practice, and dedicated to helping others with their practice, which is a beautiful thing. The other the reason that I so love interacting with the flow community is because people that practice flow arts very quickly, because it's the nature of how you grow and learn, are aware that growth happens not from consciously, intellectually thinking your way through problems. It is a process of often surrendering and getting out of the way mentally, and sometimes stumbling upon some patterns and movement. And then maybe later you understand intellectually how that happens. And I think for me, a huge part of my spiritual growth and my philosophical understanding of the world is a process of that stripping away faith in the intellectual mind. You know, of the processes in our body that keep us alive, we have conscious control over none of them. Anything that's mission critical in the human body is outside of our conscious control. And yet we put all this emphasis on our ability to fix things and steer a path, and based on what we logically think needs to happen. And so flow arts people already have this reference point, this faith and recognition and deep knowledge of a wisdom that is beyond conscious thought or intellectual thought. So one thing that happened to me at the Flow Arts Festival was, it's an interesting thing because I got the opportunity to speak. I've been working on a kind of a 50-minute talk that's an expansion of some of the TEDx talk I gave a while back about my grandpa, but extending it into a real kind of exploration of fighting darkness versus spreading light, and really feeling like I'm getting in a good groove with it. And so it was wonderful to be able to share that at the auditorium. I think I just saw a dolphin or something. Squirrel. Sea squirrel. So it's, oh, the whale! I just saw a spout. Oh, and it breached! I just saw a whale! I should probably go outside, huh? Suddenly, this environment seems pretty boring. I'll describe it. Okay, so there's this gray, and it's going up, and then there's a psh. Ah, that's a good omen. You guys are good luck. Thank you for being here. So at this conference, where I am a outsider in some ways, I get to share kind of this talk that I've really been practicing and feeling really good about. And so in the moment of sharing, I spent like 2 hours up on this beautiful mountaintop in Idlewild, taking in the scenery, and just was really grounded. And so in the moment of sharing the talk, I was so in alignment, in my most powerful, grounded, channeling self. And then the next morning, as I am, trying to integrate into this conference, I felt so not in my strength. I felt insecure. I felt like it was a good highlight for me to become aware of something that I know that I need to work on, which is that I struggle with being a novice. I struggle with starting activities where, as a beginner, I'm not good at them. I like to instantly be good at things. So I'm really hoping that whole matrix download or pill of knowledge gets going pretty quickly. Of course, then I would miss out on all the lessons of struggle. I know. But, so there wasn't a lot of classes for beginners, but there actually was one for rope dart, which is something that there's something about it that just seems super cool to me. And I've kind of like, maybe I think I've had dreams where I'm doing it. So I'm like, maybe I should take this. It's a beginner's class. I should take it. And I ended up getting to it like 20 minutes late because I, of course, fell into an awesome conversation during breakfast. And so I showed up and it's already going on. And so I hung like 30 feet away and just kind of went so I could like hear the instructor and watch what he was doing. And at first I was like, well, these are all going to be people who are beginners, but, have learned how to do this. No, almost everyone there was using a practice tennis ball on a rope that the instructor had brought for people to practice with. So like all these excuses were just falling down. And so then I start with my self-judgment, wishing that I wasn't succumbing to these feelings, this anxiety that was coming up for me. And so I listened, and I kind of told myself I'm gonna make myself a practice one, and I'm gonna watch videos on YouTube, and so I can practice privately, and pretty cop out kind of stuff. And then eventually, and I tried to like study as best I could without actually doing the movements, which sounds so silly as I say it now. But so I left and was kind of beating myself up. And then later that day, someone says, "You got to take Cyrus's Dance 1 class. He's incredible." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I happened to be outside when the class came outside, and he goes, "Ready? All right, start." And the person who told me they're like, "Come on, come on, come on." And so I'm like, "Okay, finally," and, like another chance for me to participate and like redeem myself. And this class was like, it was basically an exercise in being present. And, we ran around and spun around and ran through the woods, and it was a beautiful experience. And absolutely one where there was no way to be anything but a beginner in this process of just kind of being present with whatever wacky tasks came to his mind as he led us through. But it was great because then I was able to tell myself and have the story that, okay, cool, I participated. I did a class here, even though, I have this story about being an outsider here. But I still was kind of like, okay, I'd like to be better next time I have the opportunity to take a rope dart class. And later that afternoon, I saw people practicing rope dart in this beautiful meadow, in this area of camping that I hadn't seen before. And so after kind of summoning up some strength and some courage, I walked over there just to kind of just maybe watch, maybe even see if, I don't know, just give myself another chance. And as I walked up two people popped out of a pop-up. One of the guys that popped out of the pop-up was the instructor. And he was like, hey, man, I saw you kind of on the outskirts of my class earlier. And gosh, I felt like I had to be on my best behavior, and I was trying to keep it positive, and I was kind of made me nervous. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry, because like I was so nervous. And it was just like, these two animals both scared by each other in this so silly way. And so I got to talk to him, and he was so encouraging and was going to help me, get a tool. And it just, I was really glad that I didn't commit to the story that I sucked, and didn't commit to this kind of conclusion that I messed up and I didn't participate, because the opportunity was presented to me to connect with the teacher and to give myself another chance. And I end up feeling like I left this weekend making steps, baby steps, towards, maybe exploring a flow art. And it was, I kind of was this, on a big picture, I was like, oh, okay, cool. My anxiety kicked in. It got the best of me. And then it gave me an opportunity to learn. And then I overcame it. Yay! And isn't that what we're here for? Isn't that what life is about? Not to sit by a pool and drink pina coladas and have everything handed to us and make it easy, but, the occasional struggle and tenseness, and so that we can work through it, and so that we can grow, and so we can get to that place of clarity, so that love and truth and divinity can flow through us. So, yay! Thank you for struggles. Being yourself is an act of activism. The world of today does not have dragons, but it has judgment, and it has shame. And so as you step into who you are and allow yourself to like what you like and sing what you want to sing and dance where you want to dance, you are being a warrior. And your courage, like Marianne Williamson says, as you shine your light, you give others permission to shine theirs. So thank you for being you in the world. Thank you for being a part of this moment and allowing me to be me. So grateful that I get to do this once a week. I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you. I love you. I love you. I love you.
Right here. What up, dude? Coda.
Coda? John.
Nice to meet you, bro. Yeah.